I think for the last 2.5 years, I have given my support to the county in a way of prayer. And
actually, it's good to acknowledge that there's a member of the public who has sent in exactly the same question. So just go ahead and answer.
Yes. So I've said I support my county and I would want it to prosper. The choice of what would happen in 2.5 years, including for all the members who are here, I'm not too sure you have the answers yourself. So I think these answers will come as we move forward, and I will be well advised by including the appointing office, including the people of Nakuru. But I think it would be suicidal for any person, including yourself, Mr. Chairman, to say bye to the people of Bungoma. You'll never want to see them again. It is for them that you're here.
Yes.
Point of order, Speaker.
Yes, proceed.
I think the Honorable Lee would have just said, I'm not going to spend government money in running my politics in Nakuru. That's all. Whatever happens in 27 exactly, nobody knows. But you cannot spend government money, Minister, to run your politics in Nakuru. That's what Kenyans were concerned.
Oh.
Thank you, Speaker.
Okay. I'm well guided. I have no intention of that nature.
Chairman, I've not asked my questions.
You did.
What I did was just a follow-up question to the, it was an intervention, Honorable Chairman. I will
he has not finished, he has not answered Owen Bayer's question, and Ferdinand.
We have not finished.
Yes.
I was going up.
So,
okay,
speed it up.
The point is that we will not spend inordinate part of our time doing local politicking, but we will benefit Nakuru as much as any other part of this country, and we will forever be grateful to the people of that place. The Honorable Baye, the issue of people leaving the country, I think much as it is true that there are some people or some companies that have left the country, I would always want to see, I mean, is a door, there'll be always somebody coming and another one going. If we over-focus and create a perception, people are leaving Kenya, and the people who are saying that are Kenyans, we are also participating in creating a negative attitude about our country. So we need to say, 2 came, the 3 went. I mean, GTC was not here the other day. All these big Chinese companies that have come, and many other buy locals that have started. So I will not sit on the side of saying companies are leaving Kenya. I will say some are leaving, others are coming. We have many pharmaceutical companies, including from the US, that are setting up at Tattoo City. Many others are coming towards our economic zones that we have already set aside. So I would not say that's not an entirely correct statement, but you have tended to focus on the exit while giving a blind eye to those who are busy coming to bring money and bring investment to our country. Then, so the issue is also to come up with a retention mechanism, and we plan to make Ken Invest, which is the main agency responsible for attracting investment, to equip them so that you have a one-stop shop when you come. Because you don't want to come and you're told go to Kiambu County, the next day you're told go to Nema, the other day you're told go to this agency. So we should have officers who can hold this new investor. Remember, they don't even know the country until maybe 1 year, and then you can file a report. If they have an issue, we can look into it. But while still saying this, it would be important to say the issue of governance remain a key issue. If a big company quoted in their country come here, and the first thing there's demand for some facilitation of sort, many people don't understand that language. So we need to help our people to channel our interest into partnerships. If a big company has come, we have land, you can partner with this cooperative, and together we can move forward. So the thing is, how do we structure investments so that we do not end up having a tag that can adversely affect our investments?
Chairman, I just want to put a rider on that question, because I see one of the reasons why we lose some foreign investors. It is because some of them, they've been asking about having what we call tax holidays. But there has been a lot of taxation on them. So maybe how do you balance in ensuring that we have these tax holidays and at the same time we still collect revenue? I think this is one of the areas why we lose some foreign investors, and there must be some mitigation on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So while getting to that, there was the issue of KEBS and counterfeits. I think one of the biggest challenges we have with KEBS is that the standards are there, but enforcement requires support from other agencies. So I think moving forward, we need to look for a way in which we can give KEBS the teeth to bite. So for example, if they discover there's an anomaly with a particular product, they need to go through interior, gate officers, and so on. So I think the issue of enforcing so that the steel we produce or the cement is to the highest standard. And this will help us to instill trust and confidence with investors, because some of the key areas where we require government intervention is in standards. No single company can ensure the standard across the board, but government can do that, and KEBS is up to the job, but we need to review its mandate, especially with respect to enforcement. Then there is the issue of tax holidays asked by the Honorable Mishi. It is true that there are companies that come and do not strictly fit within our special economic zones or export processing zone, and I think some of these things can be looked on a case by case. But I think we also need to look at what would they otherwise be getting in other countries vis-a-vis what we are giving them, and ensure that at all times we are competitive. And I think one of the most important things is to learn how some of the major economies in the world operate. They have big companies, say if you talk of Korea and the Samsung, and the Samsung has over 500,000 employees, but has another over 200 companies that rely on it. These 200 are actually SMEs. So also if you're able to empower some of the mid-level, they will also come along with the small companies, and together we can move forward. And I think these are conversations we should have. And closely related to that, especially for foreign investment, is that there's always been an old debate. Even as you bring foreigners, you need to direct them which sectors to go, because you don't want a situation where they come and put a butchery and a hardware next to one run by locals. So I think within our investment policy, we also need to ensure that we don't just attract investment, we also direct it where it can be most beneficial and protect our local investments. Then,
Speaker, may I ask a question? Honorable Lee, one of the issues, you've talked about various strategies, but I've not heard you say anything about incentives to foreign investors, like giving them the land, giving them tax breaks. If you could just elaborate on that.
Through the chair, I think also in the trade, in the Ministry of Trade, we have Canvest.
So you are now just shooting questions without going through the chair. That's not our modus operandi, but go ahead, Mukami.
Yeah, what I wanted to tell the nominee, in the trade, in the Ministry of Trade, we have Canvest. Yes. Those are the ones who are supposed to guide whoever is coming to invest in this country. But I was also thinking in future, we may think about the foreign investors who are coming here in this country. They must we cooperate them with locals to avoid whatever they are earning in this country. You know, like Chinese.
We have a law on local content, don't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It's just enforcement.
Okay, you enforce that.
Yes. Mary, ask your question.
Thank you, Chairman.
One question.
No, Chair, I had not asked. Allow me, I'll not go to the preamble. I'll go straight, I have three. Chair, number one, we talked about dependency on imports, the substandard, the counterfeit, name them, that are impacting negatively on the local industries. My question is, we may even impose taxes to discourage importation of those substandard goods. We may even do whatever it takes. But what are you going to do as the minister if you nominee, you are approved to promote local content and encourage use of locally produced goods? Because if you do not change the mindset, then even if we do all that, that may be in vain. Secondly, with the high rate of unemployment, what programs for skills development are you going to support? Although I know that will cut across other sectors, education, labor, and what have you. Because why are we producing graduates for opportunities that do not exist? If we do not need psychologists as a country, why are we continue to produce them? Why are we continue to produce accountants to come and stay at home for 10, 15 years unemployed from the time they graduated? I think that is also an area I feel you need to give us your thoughts as you take up the ministry if approved. And the last one is, you know, for Kenya to achieve significant industrialization by the year 2030, and you've already alluded to this, we need to address the challenges in the manufacturing sector. High cost of production, deficits in infrastructural, infrastructure within the sector. And case among them is the sugarcane industry in the Western region. Those are some of the challenges that have been bedeviling that sector. So if we approve you, what are you going to do to address these challenges across? Thank you.
Last, Naisula.
Thank you, Chairman. Listening to the nominee, and even from his preamble, he seems to have thought about the challenges that are there that hinder manufacturing. You talked about high cost of electricity, taxation, and all. What are some, because when you speak here, we think tomorrow we're taking off if you get nominated and approved. What are some of the challenges that you foresee that might hinder all these good things that you've talked to us about here once you are nominated and appointed?
Can you answer those? Mishi, you have a question? I thought you have asked. Okay, go ahead. You are a joyrider to many questions.
No, thank you. You know that was somebody else's question, but I was just putting a rider on that.
So go ahead.
It was not
and
my
ask
question.
your own now,
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, I understand the nominee was once the governor of Nakuru County, and during that time you facilitated the setup of the Bahati Industrial Park, which focused on leather and textile industry. My question is, how will you replicate this model at a national level, particularly by promoting the growth of the leather industry in regions where we feel that we have potential for raw material sourcing? I'm looking in the area like the Ukambani and even Northeastern. My last question, you also successfully attracted investment in the Nakuru Special Economic Zone. We are having what we call Dongokundu Special Economic Zone, and it is been established in my constituency, that is Likoni constituency. This proposal has been there for the previous two regimes. To date, we are just hearing Dongokundu Special Economic Zone, but little has been achieved. What are your plans to ensure that we actualize this dream? And maybe, do you know the status of this project? Do you have the budget for this project, or it will just remain a promise or rather public relation? Thank you, Honorable Chairman.
Chair, can you answer one from the public? Just one.
Let him finish that first.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Allow me to start with the Honorable Ferdinand. And he had asked about our exports to the Middle East, and specifically beef and goat and the Bachuma Gate, where we really used to do, you hold the animals before you send them out. And maybe to make a special plea also to the nation, we are about 5 hours by air to the Middle East, and by sea maybe 10, 12 days. That is a region that has serious food deficiency. They can't grow food in the desert. However, they have a lot of money. They have a lot of resources. So Kenya is a natural source of food, including the beef. And I want to commend the MP for bringing that matter. So some of the issues that have been conversed previously, including hindrances to opening those markets, include diseases. So we send our beef, our goat, and all that, and when it gets there, we are told it has this problem. And the biggest challenge is that when a particular disease or traces of a disease are found, they will not say it is from exporter X or Y, they will say it is from Kenya. So Kenya is one source. So if we also don't clean our market, so that we say we need 500,000 goats every month, and that can keep all these pastoralist areas busy for the whole year. So I think we need a better communication so that people understand for what reason are we recommending. And then also for diseases, if I don't take care of my animals and you take care of yours, as soon as they interact, the same problem will come back. So I think we need an honest conversation, and unfortunately you have food coming from very far to the Middle East, and we are just next door. And our young people are living here to go and work there as house girls and other jobs. Yet they can work at home, stay in the comfort of a family, and be able to earn a good living. So I think there is a bit of need to change those dynamics. The Honorable Ferdinand, I also wish to inform you that the President, together with the whole team from the ministry, is currently in the UAE for signing of a trade agreement. And these are some of the issues we'll be looking into. And I want to call upon members of parliament and the country at large to align ourselves now to the market. In fact, we are getting to a situation where the country has secured more markets than we can supply. You know, so if we can't supply those markets, the bigger question will be, should we be looking for more markets or go back mashambani and create the products that we need? And I think this is really where we are. Even avocado and many of the other products, the issue is now being able to create that value chain, the logistics for export, and getting our young people to benefit from that. And closely related to that, the issue of engaging our young people.
Excuse me. I just want to inform the nominee, Pachuma was a holding ground.
Yes.
That's what it is. So treatment, what have you, then after that, we'll export the animals, live animals, which are actually healthy. Isn't that what he said? Yeah.
It's a quarantine.
It's a quarantine area to drench diseases, then export.
Yeah.
But do
not allowed to export
you want to
directly.
continue exporting live animals, or you do value addition here and export the beef, so that you make good the hides, make good the hoofs, the bones, the horns, which are also products for trade?
Mr. Chairman, I want to confirm that if now the conversation is whether it is alive or dead, then that's a good conversation. But first, we have a deficit in the number of animals that we can be able to provide for the market. Then now we go to the next level where we slaughter, but again, it's good to say in some markets they prefer it alive, and as long as they are able to pay the price that compensates for all the sub-components, I think we will try and go on a case-by-case depending on the market. But my submission is that the world has a food deficit, especially those who are close to us. We have the benefit of very good young working population, educated, ready to do everything. In fact, some of the creativity we have seen in the social space, if it was converted to selling beef, to selling Masai Mara, to selling our tourism, to doing the next big movie about Lion King, this country would change. So we just need to reconfigure ourselves, but you have all that it takes for us to progress. Mr. Chairman, I think I've answered the Honorable Ferdinand. On the issue of the impact, the Honorable Mary, the impact of imports to the local market and the damage thereof, I think we've already said this. You know, I mean, there's no country that will allow unmitigated flow of goods to come and compete with its own industries. You know, that is completely unthinkable. And it is for that reason we have requested that for any legislation that touches on taxation, both reducing imports or increasing our exports, there should be a broader conversation and ensuring that our national strategic interests are actually taken into account. On unemployment and skill development, I think this is also a very critical question. Other nations in the world, for example, China, when they decided that they want to become a major industrial nation, they targeted certain skills. And today, China produces 1.5 million engineers every year. to align to its industrial agenda. So again, we must look at our education, what do we need, and where do we direct our young people. I have looked just at my own small research, and most of my nephews are all doing IT and ICT and coding and all those things. So expect a long season of coding by this generation. So I think it's also important we try and align our universities with the needs of the nation in the next few years to come. I suspect I'm through with most of the questions. The Honorable Naisula. Will we take off tomorrow? I think the answer is yes. And I think that the big issue is, first, can we agree there's a problem? And once you agree, diagnosis is the most important part. If you've agreed on the diagnosis, then the rest is easy. And I want to submit that probably the sectors that can turn around the economy, in my opinion, is largely in the area of trade, especially on exports. Recently, I listened to the Minister for Finance talk about the huge obligations we have in the next 3-4 years. $2 billion, $4 billion. Where will that money come? If we engage in these exports and we get serious to the extent that our young people are engaged back at home, this is not something that should worry us. But if we continue as we are, then we'll have a major crisis in the days to come. So we really need to declare export a national priority in view of the obligations that are ahead of us. Then the Honourable Member also talked about how do we align everybody so that we speak the same conversation. I am new, as you can imagine, but my hope is to request for a meeting with members of parliament so that we understand the importance of industry and how it can impact on everybody. Secondly, is to meet the governors and also the MCA, not the MCAs, the CCs in charge of trade. Because finally, these are the people who will be taking up that. And then together, if we all align, then I'm sure we will be able to make a good outcome out of it. The Honorable Mishi, the issue of replicating leather industry and value addition, I think we are essentially a meat-eating nation. If you look at our nyamachoma culture and you imagine how many hides we get out of it, yet our reputation in the shoe business, in the leather business, remains very shaky. So there is a missing link between that nyamachoma culture and the shoe industry. So again, we want to work with the stakeholders in the industry. And as I said earlier, government must look for a way of identifying maybe 2 or 3 major players and facilitating them so that we become a serious shoemaker, not just for Kenya, but also for the region. We have our police, we have everybody, and government being the biggest spender. If we can commit that to giving our local companies, then that can change the dynamics. But Mr. Chairman, looking at all these things together with the others that we have said, oh, my apology, there was a question on sugarcane. Dongo Kundu. I want to say that of all the special economic zones that the government is working on, this is the closest to the port, and it has very huge opportunities. And just last week, I am not allowed to meet people who want to brief me, but I had 3 people who are, dying to come and meet me, and I told them, wait until I'm vetted, and they insisted. So when they came, they said they want to go there, but sometimes maybe just getting that go ahead sometimes has been difficult. So I want to take this opportunity to say all investors for Dongo, Kundu, and other places are welcome to the office, and we should be able to link up with the members of parliament for those respective areas so that the public also is aware of what is coming up. And on the issues of governance, which has sometimes been an impediment, I want to assure Kenyans they will be coming to get an officer who is ready to serve their nation. Lastly, on the issue of sugarcane, maybe just to say that I am not very familiar with the exact status of what percentage you're able to produce locally, but I think this is an area we can work to try and increase production so that our people do not have to rely on imported sugar. In fact, in my view, in a few years, we should be thinking of reversing that. But allow me to touch on the issue of palm oil, which is essentially a component you require to make your cooking oil. And the import is actually from Malaysia, which enjoys a similar, and Indonesia, similar climatic conditions as your average Mombasa, parts of Nyanza, and so on. And therefore, there is nothing climatically to say they can't grow there. But you have religiously imported from those countries, and therefore we need now to say, how can we turn our coastal belt into a palm oil belt? And I think this is where we need to work with members of parliament for those areas and agree that if you want to process these kind of products, you must start a plantation or even have outgrowers, and maybe working with other seed companies, produce varieties that can work there. And I think these are practical solutions, and it is widely believed that when those countries were starting their palm oil industry, they got advice from us. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair.
Thank you. Yes, Mule.
Thank you, nominee Lee. There's a question being posed to you by the public that Kenya is one of the countries whereby